good day and a safe and healthy afternoon to each and every one of us. To our distinguished guests and honored dignitaries, to the officers of the PhilExport General Membership Meeting, especially to our President, President Dr. Sergio R. Ortiz Luis Jr., to our Chairman, Mr. Paterno H. Dizon, to all of our trustees and members of PhilExport General Membership, and also to my fellow presenter today, Dr. Henry L. Basilio, who is also a good friend and advisor to ARTA. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. First off, let me thank you for having us today to present to you on this topic on plugging the weakest link on ease of doing business. Let me now start by explaining once more about the mandate of ARTA. ARTA was created by virtue of Republic Act 11032. This is considered as a game changer in our current and even past and even current bureaucracy. It was signed on May 28, 2018, and it became effective on June 17, 2018. But the IRR was only signed upon my assumption as the first Director General of ARTA last July 2019, and it became fully effective. The law and the IRR last August 4, 2019. It was a game-changing law because it both gave a stricter power and stronger power for government streamlining and also for prescribing penalties against violators of red tape. It also created our agency, the AntiRed Tape Authority. Section 2 of the law states that it is to be adopted a simplified requirements and procedures that will reduce red tape and expedite business and non-business related transactions in government. It is to be emphasized that this law does not only pertain to business-related transaction, but also to non-business related transactions. Also, Section 17, which mentions and created the Anti-Red Tape Authority, states that the purpose of the authority is to ensure the attainment of the objectives of RA 11032. So, ARTA has two general mandates or powers. First is the empowerment function, and second is the enforcement function. When we say empowerment function of ARTA, this pertains to our streamlining and reengineering powers, which we could call on the government agencies to come together and streamline together, or focus on an individual and particular government agency or particular government process and require the government agency to look for other solutions and help them to find better solutions for their government processes. Now, second is the enforcement power of ARTA, which pertains to our investigative powers and even filing of cases. One particular important function of ARTA is also the declaration of completeness of documents and issuing orders of automatic approval by operation of law. Currently, we have more than almost 10,000 permits and licenses that we have declared automatically approved by operation of law. I will be discussing a little bit more further about ARTA's mandate and functions. So, for example, on our empowerment function, we do issue recommendations towards government agencies. Also, we have the Nihimaya Program, which is the whole of government streamlining program of ARTA and a flagship program. We conduct RIA trainings or the RIA or regulatory impact assessment trainings to capacitate the government agencies to self-assess their policies, to provide a self-assessment tool for them before they roll out a certain regulation. Also, we monitor the Citizens Charter and issue guidelines monitoring the submission and compliance of government agencies to Administrative Order Number 23, which is the directive of the President for government and the agencies to streamline. We do launch some strategies like this National Business One-Stop Shops, the Central Business Portal, and also push for reform initiatives that would improve our competitiveness ranking in the World Bank survey. On the other hand, the enforcement functions of ARTA, which is also equally important, is the issuance of orders of automatic approval, filing of cases, and also handling of concerns in inquiries and complaints. So this is the WIP of function of ARTA the same way. Now, to give us a snapshot of the violations under RA 11032, which is found in Section 21 of the law. First is the refusal to accept an application that is already complete. Requiring additional requirements which are not stated in the Citizens Charter of the agency, requiring additional costs that are not written in the Citizens Charter of the agency, failure to give notice or a written notice on a disapproval. Remember that it is important to note that that government agency is under no obligation to approve all of our applications, but if they would be denying or disapproving our applications, it has to be in writing. Also, failure to render within the prescribed processing time, which is 3 days, 7 days, or 20 days. Failure to attend to applicants prior to the end of working hours or during lunch break. Letter G, failure or refusal to issue official receipts. And last but definitely not the least, fixing or collusion with fixers. Now, this is just a quick video on the penalties that await those violators of those which I just enumerated as violations of R 11032. Let's just watch briefly.
Sa panahon ngayon, hindi na pwedeng nakakalusot ang hindi sumusunod sa batas. Ang mga kalokohang ito, walang takas. Si boss, may yan. Kaya tignan mo, unang pagkakamali pa lang, mabigat na ang parusa. O, strike to ka pa. Aba, wala kang kadala-dala. Kaya lahat ng ito, ipapataw sa'yo. Di ko sure sa'yo ang akin lang, mag-isip-isip ka na. Si boss, panalo yan.
So, it's clear that the violations, as mentioned, of the stated violations, commission of the certain violations that I did enumerate a while ago, would give a penalty of suspension of 6 months for the first offense or for the first strike. On their second strike, or if they do it again for the second time, it means dismissal from public service, imprisonment of 1 year to 6 years, and also the forfeiture of all of their benefits. No? So the penalty is quite steep, needless to say, against red tape. So the question is, were there cases that have been filed by ARTA? The answer is yes. It ranges from local government officials, national government officials, even barangay officials. And we continue to investigate and will continue to file cases when needed. Now, but moving on to I would say, the more sustainable efforts against red tape, as I would say, which is the streamlining and the empowerment function. Going to this central business portal, this is one of the initiatives that ARTA, together with the ICT and the other government agencies, that we have rolled out last January 28. We did roll this out last January 28 um, as a um, as a program that shows our commitment on the streamlining and automation of the government services. Let us remember that we cannot automate unless we first streamline. That is very important. We cannot automate unless we streamline. Some would say that we could just simply streamline things, streamline government services by automating it. But the answer is wrong. The answer is no, because unless you streamline the processes first, streamline the requirements, uh, you cannot actually automate because you run the risk of automating red tape and the government redundancy. So the real bulk of the work really there is on the streamlining efforts of individual agencies and interagencies as well. So the Central Business Portal under the law is created by the ICT to serve as the central system to receive applications and capture application data involving business-related transactions. The integration of processes to the Central Business Portal for business-related transactions, including primary and secondary licenses and business clearance, permits, certifications, or authorizations issued by local government units. And number two, also, online registration or application systems established by national government agencies. So the entire vision and idea behind the Central Business Portal is similar to a central station where all transportation meet. It's a meeting point. It's a junction of all of this business-related applications. So we did launch the first phase of the CBP last January 28th. So for the first phase, coverage is uh, the coverage are the unified application form for agencies, the online registration with SEC, BIR, online registration of TIN for BIR, employer numbers for SSS, PhilHealth, and Pag-ibig. Other new features of the Central Business Portal for Phase 1 is the online payment of for BIR and registration fees, unified employee reporting module for SSS, PhilHealth, and Pag-ibig, the issuance of secondary license featuring FDA license to operate for Center for Drugs, and the interface with the LGUs, specifically the Quezon City Business and Permitting Licensing System, and 16 other LGUs with the Electronic Business Permitting Licensing System, and also the Parañaque City Business Permitting System. Meaning all of these can already be found in the Central Business Portal. So the vision is for starting a business, which normally takes 13 days, 13 steps to 33 days. The goal is to reduce it to one step and to reduce it to less than 1 day or 0.5 days. So this is what we are working at right now. Let me just show you again a summary video on the Central Business Portal. Let's watch.
Registering a business in the Philippines can be very challenging. Applicants have to deal with heavy traffic, long lines, and difficult processes. The solution is online. The Central Business Portal is the Philippines' official platform for registering businesses in a faster and more convenient way. The creation of the Central Business Portal, or CBP, is mandated by Republic Act 11032, or the Ease of Doing Business and Efficient Government Service Delivery Act of 2018.
I reiterate my call for all government instrumentalities to implement systems that shall make physical queuing a thing of the past. Panahon na para mawala na ang pila, para mapagsilbihan ang gobyerno nang walang kahirapan para sa tao.
RA 11032 aims to eliminate red tape, graft, and corruption, promote transparency, and sustain ease of doing business. It provides transition from manual to software-enabled business-related applications. The CBP is a one-stop shop for all business-related transactions such as securing business permits, licenses, and clearances. The portal is being developed in phases. It features a unified application form and a user dashboard. At present, users can register corporation with one person and less than 5 incorporators, and regular corporations to SEC. Register and pay fees to BIR. Register and report initial employees list to SSS, PhilHealth, and Pag-ibig. Apply for secondary permit or license to FDA. And access business permit and licensing system of pilot LGUs. Once the CBP is fully implemented, more features will be available and transactions will be completely online, allowing for easier, faster, and hassle-free registration of business. The Central Business Portal, the ease of doing business in the Philippines. Log on now at business.gov.ph.
Okay, so that is the video. We always say that me and Secretary Lopez would always say that the ultimate ease of doing business is putting things online. So just to quick snapshot of the Central Business Portal, the features is the creation of the Philippine Business Data Bank, in which your information when you register will now be the information of the registering companies will now be saved in a central depository system and can already be retrieved when needed by the system, so that you would no longer need to provide all of the data for your other transactions. Also, the virtual one-stop shop, because as I did mention, it brings together all of the other agencies, and also we were able to help the government agencies also to tie up their processes with one another. The creation of the Philippine Business Number, the electronic application and submission of requirements, the use of QR codes, the implementation of e-payments, the partnership with courier service providers, and also eventually the use of digital signatures both for the government officials, but eventually also for the registering public. So upon the integration to the Central Business Portal, we were also able to finalize our streamlining with the FDA Center for Drugs for the application of their license to operate. What used to be 28 steps, now it would be 9 steps. What used to be 41 requirements will now be just 12. And what used to be 63 days will now take 21 days. So you could see the percentages of improvement on the rightmost column. Now, what I did mention a while ago is the improvement on the FDA under the Nihimaya Program. The Nihimaya Program is the flagship program of ARTA for the wholesale streamlining of government systems and services per sector. The Nihimaya actually is it has a meaning which means the national effort for the harmonization of efficiency measures of interrelated agencies. It is a sectoral-based interagency streamlining effort that takes as its consideration the speeding up and realization of the socio-economic agenda of the President's administration. The program has a definite period and a clear target, which is 52% reduction of time, cost requirements, or procedures within 52 weeks for key sectors of society. So the program of reform for each of the sectors are being spearheaded by the different department secretaries whose respective departments exercises jurisdiction over most, if not all, of the entirety of the sector. So for this, for last year, the first five sectors that were prioritized under the Nihimaya program is the telecommunication sector, the food and pharma sector, the energy sector, the logistics sector, and also the socialized housing sector. To give us a brief overview of the program Nehemiah, let us watch this video.
When we hear the word government in the Philippines, what most people remember are slow processes, long lines, redundant documents, evil fixers, and overall, a distorted perspective of what a government should actually be. However, all these things actually stem from one culprit: red tape. Red tape is any regulation, rule, administrative procedure, or system that is ineffective or detrimental in achieving its intended objectives and, as a result, produces low, suboptimal, and undesirable social outcomes. This causes inefficiencies in government services that can be felt throughout industries like telecommunications, housing, chemical, and power, costing us as much as 142 billion pesos in housing alone. That's why the signing of RA 11032, or the Ease of Doing Business and Efficient Government Service Delivery Act, is known a landmark event because it created the Anti-Red Tape Authority. Senator Angara called the agency a disruptive force needed for governmental reform. Under the leadership of Director General Jeremiah B. Belgica, ARTA set out to initiate reforms at an individual agency level. However, these efforts are not enough. We need a more responsive interagency streamlining program that is suited with the goals and objectives of President Duterte to solve the problems in our government. Silo systems, lack of interconnection, lengthy and burdensome procedures, and high economic cost to our stakeholders. That is why Program Nehemiah was created. The national effort for the harmonization of efficiency measures of interrelated agencies is a sectoral-based interagency streamlining effort that takes as its consideration the speeding up and realization of the socio-economic agenda of the Duterte administration. The program aims to reduce the time, costs, requirements, or procedures by 52% in 52 weeks of government services that involve interrelated agencies. ARTA has defined 5 key sectors to prioritize this year: common towers and interconnectivity for our communication, housing for shelter, food and pharma for food and medicine, logistics for transportation, and energy for power generation. To ensure the success of this endeavor, ARTA has enjoined the commitment of vital government agencies we call lead builders. The Office of the Executive Secretary to oversee the implementation of the President's directive. The Office of the Cabinet Secretary to convene and ensure participation of the lead builders and the industry sector agencies. The Department of Budget and Management to provide policy recommendations. The National Economic and Development Authority to supply their policy analysis and research. The Department of Information and Communications Technology to provide technical assistance in the development of the digital infrastructure. The Department of the Interior and Local Government to provide the necessary coordination and cooperation among local executives, and the Development Academy of the Philippines to provide scientific, interdisciplinary, and policy-oriented research, education, training, and consultancy to the lead builder agencies. The implementation of Program Nehemiah will take 52 days, where agencies must identify reform targets based on a comprehensive inventory of regulations which inputs from all regulatory agencies and public bodies within the parameters of the standard cost model. This will then be analyzed for its legality and necessity. The decision to retain or cut regulation will be based on consultations with the private sector and regulatory agencies. Regulations that are found to be no longer necessary will be removed through a guillotine process. Meanwhile, necessary regulations will undergo analytical simplifying procedures to be decided on again by regulatory agencies and public bodies. These reforms are then implemented through an e-registry and the review of new licenses, permits, and other pertinent documents will undergo RIA to ensure sustainability. This is Program Nehemiah, and it is just the beginning. With the train of reform already on the tracks, we are ready to transform the way we see and serve the people. Together, we can create a brighter future for Philippine government service.
Now, for some of the outputs of the program Nihimaya, for the connectivity sector, we have successfully reduced from 30 permits to 8 permits, requirements from 86, requirements to 35, from 241 days to 16 days. This resulted to the issuance of more than 10,000 permits for the building of the towers for the telecommunication sector. We are in the process of refining and crafting the supplemental joint memorandum circular in order to better clarify some provisions of the JMC as it pertains to and harmonizes with the Bayanihan 2 provisions. But very soon we would be rolling out again the supplemental joint memorandum circular to even make things faster, more faster than it already is. On the logistics sector, we shall be we are seeing that within the month we would be able to issue another joint memorandum circular that would in effect reduce the 209 steps to 24 steps, and also the what used to take 271 days to 35 days. The socialized housing also would be scheduled to finish by next month. And the food and pharma, as I did mention, 28 steps to 9 steps, 41 days to 12 days, and what used to be, 41 requirements, 12 requirements, and what used to be 63 days is now reduced to 21 days. This is now was done through the integration with the central business portal. The power and energy is actually being, ARTA is just supporting the efforts of the energy virtual one-stop shop that is actually being headed by the Office of the President and the Department of Energy. So ARTA's role when it comes to power and energy is more on a supporting role for the success of the steering committee of the EVOS. So I did mention almost 10,000 permits were issued. I believe the more current one is now at 10,000. Now, also another effort, automation effort that is being done and supported by ARTA is the National Single Window Program through the joint portal of the TradeNet. ARTA is now helping government agencies to be on board with this national platform for the National Single Window Program, which will help your sector, your industry of export and even import. The Ease of Doing Business and Anti-Red Tape Advisory Council last December 16 issued a endorsement, endorsed the complete mandatory onboarding of the Trade Regulatory Government Agencies or TRGAs on the TradeNet. So we are now helping the steering committee of the National Single Window, helping to push and even encourage the government agencies to onboard already themselves or their agencies, their process in this electronic platform. ARTA also, in relation to the National Single Window Program, issued a Memorandum Circular 2021-01 to all heads of these trade regulatory government agencies on the subject of guidelines on the mandatory onboarding of trade regulatory government agencies to the TradeNet as endorsed by the EODB Advisory Council. So we gave them a timeline and even a timetable and a target deadline. So this is already being done. And hopefully, once all of the agencies have already boarded themselves through this trade facilitation platform, we would be able to see a much, much faster and much more transparent way of doing trade in our country. ARTA, at the same time, this is just pictures of some of the on-the-spot inspections that ARTA has done this year to check on the business one-stop shops of the different LGUs. I personally go there, or if not, we do practice virtual inspection as well. As you can see, we were able to inspect all of the LGUs in Metro Manila and some LGUs outside Metro Manila. We are not only inspecting LGUs, but also do inspect national government agencies, such as SSS, PRC, FDA, BIR, the Land Transportation Franchising Regulatory Board, the Bureau of Animal Industry, and the most recent is the Bureau of Immigration. Also the Register of Deeds and the Land Transportation Office. As a result of our surprise inspections, several government agencies already issued policies to ensure the compliance to the provisions of RA 11032 by their different branches, because sometimes if the government agency or the national government agency does not inspect that often the regional branches or the local branches sometimes tend to veer away from the very policy of the law. So the SSSBIR in particular issued their memorandum circular to the different branches to ensure the creation of the ARTA desk, compliance to the Citizens Charter, the zero contact policy, the no noon break, and also the implementation of queuing system and the compliance to the minimum health standards. We also tell government agencies to make sure not to practice cut-off system, which means the cut-off system is when you send away applicants even before or prior to the end of office hours. Some government agencies, we found out some branches do have a cut-off until 3 o'clock. They only receive applications until 3 o'clock, and then they refuse to accept any applications after 3 o'clock. So that is strictly against the policy of RA 11032, which says that you have to accept and entertain all applicants so long as they are within your premises during office hours. And the more recent action was with the LTO, which following our surprise inspection, LTO, the regional office of LTO, NCR East did suspend one of their official or the chief of in that city, and also remove the security personnel that was involved in some of the violations that ARTA saw. So I would just want to reiterate that the train of reform against red tape is already on the move. On it are the hopes of the people for a better Philippines, and anyone who chooses not to move will simply be ran over. We are committed to continue the reforms, especially during this time of pandemic. As we would say, ang red tape sa panahon ng pandemya ay tunay na nakamamatay. And the President is very clear in his message that we need to streamline, to make everything online, and also to make sure that the people would have the best services that the government could give. Muli, marami pong salamat and God bless us all.